What's up? Welcome back. I'm John Stark from MacMovieGuy.com, your favorite blind film critic, and today I'm reviewing a movie called All God's Children. This is coming to theaters this Friday. I got an advanced screening of it, and I get the hot titles, guys. They are sent directly to me. I think one battle after another opens this weekend. That they were gonna make me go to a theater, and then it's like, do I have the time? But what All God's Children just sent me a link to their movie, and they're like, we're opening on Friday. Do you want to watch this? And I was like, sure, okay. So I was actually kind of hoping that this was faith-based because I'd love to just start being sent faith-based movies to review. It's not. I find the way that faith-based cinema is made to be actually incredibly interesting because there's such like a wide scale on that of what people are willing to accept in faith-based film. But this is faith-based, but it's not faith-based, if that makes any sense. Faith is very much at the core of this film, but it's not going to be what Christians run around and go, this is what we're looking for. This is not like the Michael Chiklis movie, The Senior, that is currently playing in theaters. That's from Angel Studios. No, this is a documentary about how our society is very, I don't know if you've noticed, but we're not getting along right now. There's a lot of divisiveness in the world. I don't think we've ever been this far apart politically, and we seem to be running further in opposite directions all day, every day. So this documentary takes a look at two churches. One of them is a Black Christian church that's in Crown Heights, and another one is a Jewish synagogue that is nearby, that has a female rabbi, which I thought was interesting because that in and of itself is progressive, which led me to believe that this is a more progressive synagogue anyway, which is not something they fully, I think, embrace or discuss in this. Is that they're already sort of leading progressive, which makes their choices here make more sense. So it discusses how both of these groupings of people, Black people and Jews, have both been racially discriminated against. They've both been they've both been slaves. They've both been systematically, targeted just for who they are. All that kind of stuff, the similarities, even though there are times where the disparity between the two it's not equal, it's not the same, but they have sort of shared experiences, and it's about embracing those shared experiences, and they do that through literally walking in each other's footsteps by going to each other's services. So the Black pastor of the Christian church takes his members to go sit in and watch synagogue proceedings, and feels inspired by being there for that, and is invited to bring their message to the synagogue, and like what is it that they do, and the synagogue comes and watches them in their church. And it's a bumpy road because it wasn't like clearly fully thought out, so they have to have all these open conversations about all the things and all the triggering emotions that they feel along the way. And luckily, because everybody's open and understanding and mostly non-confrontational, that it all just kind of works its way through the documentary. And I think that's the point of it, is being able to see eye to eye by the end of it, just like we learned in a Goofy movie. So yeah, this is a decent documentary if you want it out there in the world. I think what's interesting is just sort of like theologically. I was thinking, I know I'm a movie critic, I should be thinking about like what was the lighting like? Was the cinematography okay? But theologically, I was thinking, what's interesting here is that Judaism is tied specifically also to a race of people, to the Jews. Like it's like the same thing. However, Christianity is like a religion that's separate from being black. So like you can be black and then be other things, or you can be Christian and you can have like a white Christian experience that's separate from the black Christian experience. So while Jews see themselves represented negatively in Christianity, frequently being played the villain, which has been a lot of the problem of why we have so many anti-Semitic people in the world. There isn't really the counterbalance to that in Judaism. There isn't like a Judaism thing where black people are the villain. So while they're trying to have these shared experiences, it's really hard because on one end, they're coming in and then they're sort of shocked and appalled at certain things that happen in black church, but that's just basic Christianity. And at the same time, it's not like we can see the flip side of that because there isn't anything in Jewish culture that is racist against black people. So it's kind of like apples and oranges. Like really, I mean, they're both fruit, they're both religions, right? But they're not only are they different based on the texts that they use and how they've interpreted them, and even though there's a similar thread between Judaism and Christianity, especially through Old Testament stuff. It's just at a certain point it veers in a very different direction if you're going the Christian route. So it's trying to put two things together that have some connective tissue, but I don't think they fully have embraced all of maybe some of the differences. And one of those differences is that because you see it's weird because it feels like the Jews in the film are being targeted and attacked, but they're not really. It's just there's nothing there to counterbalance what they feel when they walk into a church and they see like the resurrection, right? Like they watch that and it's very weird for them, or they see, they see all this Jesus stuff and they feel like it's being pushed in their face. And there's a long history of Christianity being used to try to push Judaism away and convert people. But it isn't in reverse, just as like there isn't anything in Judaism where it's like, well, black people are the problem. So you can't see that in reverse. And it doesn't spend time with a black pastor talking about, well, we went to the synagogue and we were like, oh my God, the representation of black people here is troubling. So it's not as balanced as I would have liked it to be because I don't think they quite understood how to make it like that. I don't think they quite understood that when it is apples and oranges, I'm gonna keep using that, why it's apples and oranges. Like it's at its most base, you're just going, well, I'm Jewish or black. I'm Jewish or Christian, like those are things. And it's like, yes, however, even in that description, you've just pointed out one of the differences is that you are Jewish, and that is both how you identify as a person and also your faith. Whereas black people can be black without being Christian, and black people can be, Christians can be not black. And we have so many different interpretations of the Bible and sex within Christianity that it's just like, did you find the right one? I mean, I know this is like black Christian, but even within that, you're going to have different interpretations of black churches and how they're interpreting the service in the Bible, and Methodists and Baptists and all different sorts of things. So it all changes. The nuance shapes around so much and shifts and changes. And this one pastor makes choices, and they're trying to open up these conversations and have these moments. And when they have them, they work nicely. It shows two people working together nicely. But also, would the documentary exist if this ended up being two people who thought they were going to start something on good faith and then it proved that they couldn't do it, and the whole thing failed? Would they still release that documentary and be like, well, we started following these two people, but it did not work out? Like, this is an exploration of how sometimes people are so far apart that they can't. So, luckily, I don't know, on a wing and a prayer, this thing made it through. But I mean, it was an interesting documentary, to be sure. And what's interesting about it is I don't think it's a political documentary, although people will see it that way. They'll see it as being like some sort of assault on Trump. I'm like, I don't think it is. I'm not even sure. I can't even remember if they brought him up. I think passively, just because it's like it's in the time, it's of the period, it's in the culture surrounding. Obviously, they talk about October 7th and that event, and so from the Jewish perspective, we hear what she believes about the whole situation going on with Israel and Palestine. And I think her views on it, coming from a rabbi, are incredibly progressive because they're not the kind of things that you hear people like talking about here in America. I mean, if she were to say those things like out on the street, outside of the context of the documentary, there's so many people here that would accuse her of being anti-Semitic, and then she'd be like, I'm a rabbi. I can't be anti-Semitic. Anyway, being at one point they pray for the people of Palestine, and she correctly defines what Hamas is and understands the difference between Hamas and Palestinians, and she's for a Palestinian state, but also recognizes that oftentimes when people talk about that they think that it's people being pushed out of Israel. It's just that there are two groups of people, both from that region, and that Palestinians should have their own area, their own land or whatever to claim. So, which is not something I expected to hear from a rabbi. I'll give that credit. So, she is like literally the most understanding rabbi ever. If anything, this is like a recruitment tool for Judaism, because it makes people seem really chill in Judaism, because even when they feel triggered, they just go have a conversation about why they're triggered, and then they go, well, why don't we see if we can have a conversation about this with the people who have triggered us and see if we can reach a commonality. And that's what the film's really about, is about having these conversations, and against a backdrop of how we're sort of in a system where we don't want to have conversations. We just want to be like, you can get away. So, yeah. I mean, this documentary, it serves its purpose, it serves its point. I'm curious as to what will happen with it at the box office. Will it get any attention? Who is this for? Are we running for Oscar campaign? Like, what are we trying to do here? I am sort of curious as to what will happen with it. I don't think it's going to be an Oscar documentary. I don't know how many people it'll reach spiritually. I don't know how many hearts and minds it's going to change, but it could. I think I've seen films adjacent to this before. Last year, I think I saw a documentary called Bad Faith, which I thought was solid in what it was talking about, but I don't think anybody saw Bad Faith. So I don't think it actually did what it was supposed to do. And that's the thing about documentaries, is that when they're well-intentioned and they have a message, it's like if no one sees them, you know, then Paramount Plus has another documentary this year that seems to be about the Jewish Palestine stuff and Gaza and October 7th and that whole thing. And last year they had one, We Will Dance Again, and I kept talking about it in like film circles, and like no one had seen it, and I would vote for it, but nobody else would be. I'm like, are we not? And that's the thing is, it's like if these messages aren't being heard and they're not registering with people, documentary is such a specific genre that it's so hard to get a documentary to really break through so that the public knows what it is. I think Predators is doing an excellent job of that, but Predators is being backed by MTV, who knows how to market movies. So I don't know how to get people. I don't have the kind of reach. I kind of argue that in some of my other reviews about, if I had Chris Stuckman's 2 million subscribers, be ballsy and do something with it. He doesn't even review films he doesn't like. He's so afraid because he's a filmmaker of saying anything that would possibly piss anybody off. Well, okay, you have 2 million subscribers and you're a filmmaker, your film's dropping. Why don't you start reviewing smaller movies? Why don't you give movies like this a platform? Stop picking the big ass movie that just opened in theaters that everyone else is reviewing and start reviewing smaller movies that nobody's watching and giving them attention. We have to stop determining a movie's worth based on its marketing campaign. Anyway, so if this comes near you and you want to check it out, sure. I think it's an interesting movie. I think it's a discussion piece. And that's what is interesting about it. So, I'm glad I got to talk about it. I'm glad I got to see it. I'm glad that they just openly sent me the screener too, and I didn't even have to respond. I don't know if it has audio description. I'm assuming not. Most of the time when I get screeners, even if I send something back and I say, yeah, I love the screener and with audio description, I don't get it. Even when I'm really specific about it, I don't get it. And sometimes I have to like hit back and be like, again? So I finally posted a review to Rotten Tomatoes of a film that I didn't get an audio description track for, but I did ask for one, and my pull quote mentions the fact that I didn't have audio description, and that directly affected my ability to understand and enjoy the movie. I'm blind. I'm a blind film critic. That's the thing. That's why I'm here. That's what makes me different. So documentaries are often a little bit different because they are so heavily reliant upon dialogue. So like with here, I didn't really notice it a lot. And the couple of times where something visual is happening that you need a reference for, somebody will mention it. Like the flags, there's like a Jesus flag. So when that's brought out, obviously people talk about it. So like the couple of really pertinent information pieces, they talk about them anyway. So it was easy to get through it. Easier than some other films where there's no dialogue and I'm just sitting there listening to a score or sound effects or breathing or whatever. So All God's Children score, I'm going to give it a 7.5 out of 10. I thought it was good. Yeah, it was good. I think there are better documentaries this year, just in general. My thing with documentaries is I feel like at the end of the year, whenever I'm picking my best documentary of the year, it's always going to be the one that moved me and like shook me, like the one that showed me something where I was like, oh my God, like last year, why it was really We Will Dance Again and The Commandant's Shadow were the two that I felt like hit me the hardest. And then No Other Land conceptually, but it never had audio description. I didn't see No Other Land, but it's like not in my language and there's no audio description. So it's very hard to like that movie. But yeah, I think about movies like that, and those are movies that pack a punch and kind of take the air out of you. So this one is a film to talk about afterwards. Go with people and then go sit down and talk about what you just saw. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing, and I'll see you guys on the other side.